Hey guys, it's Andrew, and this is why we're fat. All right, we're meal prepping today, and we're gonna make what I call kind of my quick pasta sauce. So I use some cheats. It's kind of one of those semi-homemade situations, but I think it tastes good and it tastes better than, it tastes better than if it just came out of the can. It's not hard to do, and it will fool people to think you spent all day slaving over a stove, when you're gonna see we're gonna do it in like 10 minutes. It's gonna be super great. So, giant thing of olive oil. We're gonna give our hot pan a good amount of olive oil, probably maybe even almost a quarter of a cup. This adds richness and fat that we need. And we're gonna start with 1 whole cup of onion, half a cup of celery, half a cup of very finely diced carrots. Now you could really just as easily start with some ground meat. You could do ground beef, some Italian sausage or something like that in this if you wanted to. We're going to do about a half a teaspoon of salt over those vegetables to help them start to soften. I'm going to, 1 second. Pause, action. I need another can of heat off the counter, maybe. Sorry about that. And we're going to start softening these up. We're not browning them, we're not caramelizing them at all, we're just softening. And you're going to see after, just right there, after a little bit here that it's still burning. So this is just going to warm up, and now let's talk about how we're going to cheat. So I have a can of steamed diced tomatoes, and I have a can of, this is from Wegmans, this is just their smooth marinara, as my base. This is kind of the start of the sauce, and we're going to dress it up so that it doesn't taste like it just poured out of a can. Not that there's a problem with canned sauce. I'm not one of those people. I believe that everything has a purpose. You know, kids like the stuff, the Pregos and the super smooth, super tomatoey sauces. They have a purpose, so use them for their purpose. This, we are dressing up. We like to have a little more sophistication in this house, so we're gonna dress it up. Now, other options, if you wanted to make this even more, you could chop up some mushrooms and add them at this stage and let them render out. What you're really looking to do is start to make the onions translucent in that olive oil. We're worried it's going to seem out. And we're going to open up our canned tomatoes, our diced tomatoes. If you can't find diced, you can use whole tomatoes. Just crush them in your hand because you don't want whole tomatoes. But so far, the hardest part of this is cutting up the vegetables. Everything else is super easy. We're going to let this, again, the onions are going to start to get translucent. I'm not worried about cooking the carrots or cooking the celery and making them too soft because we're going to kind of stew this together for a half hour, and it's going to be really delicious. All right, so once your onions, about 2 minutes, have started to get a little translucent, this is, I love this, 2 tablespoons of chopped garlic. So this is like 8 or 9 cloves of garlic that have been chopped up, right up in there. Make sure we get all that garlic. Don't waste a single thing. Garlic is delicious. And that is one thing I will tell you. If the recipe says 2 cloves of garlic, use 8. Just kidding. Follow recipes. Follow my recipes. The way I cook. So, but I will tell you one of my things is when I add garlic to something like this, fresh raw garlic, the goal here, once you've added it, is when you can smell the garlic becoming fragrant, you're ready, right? So we've got it in there. It takes a minute or 2 for that garlic to warm up and start to feel the sizzle from the olive oil that we've got in here. Okay, so that's going, smelling delicious and lovely. Great, just kind of a single layer. Let's give it a zhuzh. Okay, so we've got our tomatoes. Whole can. You can smell the garlic now, it's fragrant. We're just going to put the whole can, juice and tomatoes and all of that loveliness in there. We're going to take water. We're going to rinse the side of our can until we have about a half a can of water. If you're feeling extra, you could use chicken stock to rinse your can. Tomato sauce. Yes. No, not yet. Oh my god, I just got my recipe wrong. That's okay. So we're gonna let this cook. And kind of start to warm through, and we're gonna add about a cup of red wine. Red table wine is fine. This is a Cab Sauv. And we're gonna bring this to a boil over our little pan, over our little burner. And this is the stage where the carrots and the celery are really going to start breaking down. Like I said, we weren't looking to break down the carrots and celery in the first stage of cooking, just to kind of start to get them going. But that wine adds in there, that starts to add that depth of flavor that you usually don't get in your canned sauces. Okay. So that's cooking, and we're going to let that go for a few minutes. Now let's talk about our herb paste. So this is an herb paste. See, I knew it. I knew it. It's like it's not getting hot. It's not getting hot. But I can solve that really easy. There we go. Now that's a flame. This is gonna cook fast. Now I'm excited. Anyways. So herb paste, this is Italian herb paste. You see it in the grocery store in the herb section. Comes in a little tube. They have a lot of different brands, so I don't want to get specific in brands, but they're all about the same thing, right? This is basil, rosemary, a little bit of thyme, some oregano, and water really is the suspension. And it's just ground up into a paste, and that makes your life easier, especially when you're looking to make food taste really super good after working all day. You're not looking to spend an hour chopping up and kind of mincing up fresh herbs, but you still want that fresh herb flavor. The other piece about this is they last longer. So if you're in a household like Matt and I with just 2 people, a bunch of basil, we use it, but we don't necessarily use it fast enough, and some of it ends up in the trash at the end of the day. So this tube allows us to use just what we need, keep it in the refrigerator, and keep things kind of from wasting money, but wasting food too, because I hate doing that. So we're going to let this simmer, and I'm going to go ahead and right now, because now it's starting to get up now, we're going to add our herb paste in here. You can smell the garlic and the richness of the tomatoes is coming out. And now as soon as that herb paste just hits the heat, you also start to smell that really delicious herbiness. So you can do this in a saucepan. I'm doing it in a skillet so you can see it. I think a skillet helps expedite the process because it gives more surface area for heat to hit. So if you're looking to do this and serve it tonight, this is a good way to do that. But we'll come back in a few minutes, and we're gonna add the pasta sauce and talk about how long to cook it. But we want this with the tomatoes and the red wine now to reduce by half. That takes, depending on your stove, 10-ish minutes, and I could probably talk for 10 minutes, but nobody wants to hear that. Anyways, this is bubbling. We'll be back in 10 minutes. I'm Andrew, and this is Why We're Fat.